Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. This is gonna be another one of those tournament games. As you can tell there, we play on Kill Your Friends, and we also always have a spectator that is the referee. So now let me just go over the rules real quick. So survivors can use items, and they can use items that are yellow or below. And as far as add-ons on those items, they can use green or lower. As far as perks, they can use whatever they want, except they cannot repeat teachables. So, for example, Unbreakable is a teachable, they cannot have two people on the team using Unbreakable, and so on for all the other perks. Now, as far as Killer, I can use purple or lower add-ons, and I can use any perks that I want. As far as maps, the survivors choose to block three either maps or realms. So, for example, they choose to block a realm Macmillan, so I cannot pick any Macmillan variation. That would be blocking a realm, or they can block um, a specific map, such as Haddonfield or the game, for example. So they have three choices. A realm only counts as one choice. So yeah. And me as the killer, I pick the map based on what's left that they haven't blocked. And points are kills and escapes. Okay, so that's all that matters. Doesn't points or pips, those are worth nothing if you want to win the actual tournament, win the game, the match, and whatnot. Maximum of points, if you think about it, then is gonna be 4-0, which is like for either 4 kills or 4 escapes with the max score that you can get for either side. Now, with the rules out of the way, so let's get to the gameplay. This is gonna be mostly even though I'm playing killer, I'm going to be trying to analyze mostly the survivor gameplay because I really want to showcase how a good survivor team plays and how it's really kind of impossible for you, regardless of how good you are as a killer, to stop it. Um, Especially if they have perks and if they have items like they have in this situation here. It completely breaks the balance of the game. Unless you're playing nurse or spirit or something that's like super strong, and even then, you're not. It kind of breaks the balance in the sense you're not going to 4K if they play properly, due to having all those crutches and things they can use, together with the already like completely overwhelming gen speed. When they coordinate on the gens, as you will see in this game. So in this match in particular, I have already played Nurse and I have already played Spirit against this team, so you cannot repeat the killer in this tournament. So at least not for the same round, right? So this is the semifinals, so the survivors are super good. And so since I have already used on the first 2 rounds against them Spirit and Nurse, so I have to use another killer now, which I'm picking Freddy because he's close to the high tier. It would be I was either between him or Pyramid Head. Um, it's kind of I don't know. Maybe I should have probably picked Pyramid Head now that I think about it after this game, but I'm not gonna spoil you to guys what happened. But because Pyramid Head would have helped me on certain situations, and I would have been able to on certain situations have more options, I guess, on the chases specifically. Now, you see, I'm picking the map here, so I'm gonna pick Azarov's. It was either that or really Play a Rose, but Play a Rose is a big map. I like to play Azarov's. Azarov's is kind of a double edge because it can work in your favor, but it can also not work in your favor if you're playing a killer like Freddy, for example, that's loopable. Because you can get a lot of because sometimes the spawns on Azarov's has like some insanely safe windows and pallets that if you're playing a loopable killer, you can't do anything about it. So that kind of breaks the balance of the map a little bit. But at the same time, if you manage to get it down and get a hook, it's like super easy to play strategically on the map, just due to the layout, the fact that you have that little middle corridor, like super narrow mid passage of the map, and you have the 3 gens on each top and the bottom. It makes it really easy to defend the 3 gen, especially with curb intervention on that map. So for that reason, because it's a very strategic map, that's why I'm picking Azeroth. But like I said, it can be bad for depending how it goes. It can be bad for like lower than top 2 tier killer, simply because of the how the chase plays takes too long because of how many safe battles they still have shacks and everything. So But yeah, so since they cannot combo the teachables, they cannot have like multiple unbreakables. They're still gonna try to combo the crutches as best as they can. So they're going to combo things like borrow time with deliverance. They're still gonna try to. The survivors are good. They're not dumb. So even though the rules prohibit them from using that many crutches together, they can still combo certain combos together that it still makes the survivors pretty broken, as almost as much broken as they would be if they were allowed to use freely combo like multiple vehicles and things like that. But yeah, so what breaks the game is really the chase time, the perks, the items. Well, really, what influences the chase is mostly the map to an extent. So they can fix the devs. The devs can fix the chases by fixing the maps, but because most maps are not mind gameable, so they're really just a waste of time for the killer, which is a time that he doesn't have, as you will see here. So in this game. So anyway, like I'm saying, I'm gonna try to focus as much as I can on the actual Survivor gameplay, so you guys can see how many advantages they are getting from the perks and the items and things like that, and or the map layout and the coordination, everything. Advantages in a way that the killer has no counterplay to, which is why it makes it broken because the killer has no counterplay to it. It's like a lose-lose situation for the killer, so that's why it makes it unbalanced because there's no counterplay. But yeah, let's get into the game here. As far as add-ons, I'll be using the double ropes, I believe, to try to slow the game down as much as I can when they are asleep. This map, another reason why I like to pick this map is because the initial spawns often favors the killer in a way, if you know where they spawn. Like for example, right now I spawn in this corner of the map. Usually they spawn when this type of spawn happens. They usually spawn on the very opposite corner of the same side, at least one of them. So it's like super easy to start the first chase already without wasting too much time. So that's another reason why I picked this map. So you see here, I'm placing. You see already what I mentioned about the super safe loops. This loop right here is super safe. So and you see she still has Shack like right next to her. So it's like already like a easy like a minute chase here at least, just from how safe the pallets are, regardless of how good I am as a killer. Considering that I'm playing Freddy. If I'm Nurse, I can just like blink through walls and everything. So the Shack really is not a problem. But when you're playing killers that are not Spirit and Nurse, this is kind of what happens. So she's playing really efficiently there by using the windows and not using the pallets. You see she vaulted that like 3 times. And now she's gonna have to drop the pallets so she doesn't get hit. And notice how she's playing safe as well. She's not trying to like take too many risks. She's dropping the pallets early when she needs to avoid a hit. Right now it was a little bit of a mistake on her part. And you see she's still making mistakes. I just want to point that out. This she could have played this even better. Just so you see how broken it is if they actually play to the max potential they have. You see again how safe she's playing. She didn't even try to loop that. She just dropped the pallet right away. And me as the killer, I have no counterplay to that. I just have to eat the pallet. Right there was a second mistake on her part. Pretty much just gave me the second hit for free. She still did a very good juke there, which is the auto aim juke. I like to do that one a lot too. It's kind of annoying for the killer, but yeah, it happens. But it's still a pretty good chase, not too long considering I had to do with Shack and everything. Only one gen got done, which is again shows how they're good survivors. Despite corrupt intervention and ruin everything, they were still able to get a gen done in this little time of a chase. Two actually right now, as you can see. Um, but it's like only now the game really starts, and it's already like 2 gens down easily, just because of how long the chases last. When you're playing a low tier killer. So right here, what I'm trying to do is really bait the save. So I'm going back to the save so I can tunnel and change the scenario here from a 4v1 to a 3v1 as soon as possible because you cannot keep. You're only one killer, so you cannot be at 4 places at the same time. So the lower their numbers, the better it is for you to apply pressure. So this is why you need to get rid of one person right away as soon as you can. Again, super safe palette. I can't play around it, even with Bloodlust. It's like, I could try to play around it, but she can also leave the loop. I would have to use, like, waste too much time to get that single hit there, so it's not worth it. Now this is the problem. I lost her. I think she had Iron Will. That's probably why I lost her here. She's probably crossed around there somewhere. She's black, so she's called that. So she's RC, and she's also have Iron Will. So I lost her. So I lost my tunnel, which completely destroys the strategy of the eliminate one person right away. So now it's a 4v1, and you see how this is bad, really bad, because in a 4v1 scenario, it's literally impossible for you to hold the pressure. It's too much. Like four survivors working at gens at the same time. You're only one killer. You cannot. The map is too big. You cannot be at all places at the same time. And you see, notice how they're spreading out on the gens as well, and they work gens solo. You see right there again, like a very quick chase. Not a big deal for me. It's still the gens are getting done, regardless if you're getting fast chases or not. So just so you can see that it doesn't matter if you're a good killer or not. You have to follow a certain thing to stop the gen pressure. And 4v1, you're not going to stop the gen pressure. It's impossible. You see right there, they already got another gen done. Because they're all spreading out, so there's constantly 3 people working at the gen at the same time, and I can't be at the entire map at the same time. So even if I'm chasing one person, there's 3 others doing gen, and that's not sustainable. Even with fast chases, it's not sustainable. Gens are gonna get done way too quickly that way. So you see they're already spreading out and working on the gens. And me as a killer have to make a choice. I either commit to the hook, like camping or tunneling, so I can get my kill, but then I'm not defending gens. And if I go defend a gen, this is what happens: they get saved, and you don't kill anyone either. So it's like I said, a lose-lose situation for the killer pretty much every time, which is what kind of breaks the balance for the survivor side. Again, kind of a very safe battle here. I can even with snares, I can't really play around it. Not to mention, I believe she was not asleep, so she wouldn't even be effective for my snares for like an entire minute. Now this is another good strategy. This is how you beat a 3 gen. Because I don't know if you noticed that, but I was actually in my head trying to maintain the 3 gen all along on that side. But even then, you see, this is how you stop a 3 gen. She's leading me away from the 2 gen in the chase. So that way, if I want to down her, I have to commit and leave the gens. You see right there, another. If she doesn't have that hard, she goes down. But just because she has that hard, I can't do anything about it. No counterplay. She still lives. No pressure gain. Nothing. Just completely like erase my pressure. That single usage of a perk. Again, balanced landing. I cannot even get a hit on her because of balanced landing. Another type of crutch. And you see how they're smart. They're always leading me away from the 3 gen, so that I cannot keep defending and chasing them at the same time. And because they have medkits, they can heal themselves as well on the other side of the map, and then come back to pressure the gens again, which is something I also cannot do any kind of counterplay to. If they were not allowed to use items, then at least they would have to risk coming back injured to the gen, or another teammate would have to stop working a gen and go all the way to the side to heal them, which means, I actually have pressure that way. But the way it's set up right now with the perks and the plus the items is just too much, too broken. Like even without those, you already cannot apply pressure. Imagine with those. And they're smart. You see, they're not trying to heal each other. They just use the medkit and keep the others working on the gen at the same time with the coordination. So you see, even if I'm defending this gen right now, the other 2 gens are being worked on at this very moment. So I know that in my head, so I know that I have to commit soon. I have to commit to a chase, or simply no hooks will happen, and they'll finish the gens eventually. As you can see right there, 2 gens almost done. It's just impossible to keep the pressure. Even if you're teleporting and doing all kinds of shit, like I'm doing here with Freddy, it's still not fast enough, because you cannot physically be at 4 places at the same time. Even if it was only 2 survivors, it would already be, not enough to deal with, because while I'm chasing one, the other is working on the gen. So like I mentioned, they will always be able to finish eventually if the situation is like this. And this is why NOAD is really for the last case scenario, or I don't know if things go bad. Mostly just to try to get that kill at the end, because like I mentioned, kills are points, so you don't want to mess with kills. You definitely want to secure them as much as you can. So this you see right now, even with snares, this is a really good, another good example of how to do chases just with distance alone. And you see, she's gonna cross the entire map before I can reach her. just from that single boost from the hits, which is also pretty fucking broken. The fact that they gain so much distance from a single hit, I don't think it should be this much, is another thing that I think is broken. And see now, even with Bloodlust, I'm avoiding the body blocks here, and I'm still not able to reach her. So you see how it's really underrated how fast the killer is when the survivor is just running in a straight line like this. And just like that, no counterplay at all, nothing I could have done there without knowing. Also, the perks they're using, they can use the detective's hunch as well, so that's why they can see where my totem is and destroy it. But yeah, guys, hopefully you guys can see. I was able to point out how the items, the perks, and the coordination breaks the game for the survivor side. This is why people say this game is survivor favored. And if you were the killer, like, don't feel bad for losing a game like this. If you're not playing Nurse or Spirit, you know, if you don't get kills and whatnot, we only get 1 kill, because you need to understand it's not in your favor to get 4 kills. So the survivors have to make mistakes for you to be able to make that happen with a low tier killer. And this match is really a perfect example of when survivors do not do mistakes. This is what is expected to happen. This is not a loss. This is essentially what is expected to happen if the survivors do not make mistakes. And these guys are super good, so they didn't make mistakes. You're essentially gonna get 1 kill or no kill if you're playing something less than Nurse or Spirit, and this is just the way it goes. So if you're the killer, don't feel bad for it. Just understand that that's how the game currently works. That's how the balance is. If the survivors have items, perks, and everything. And if you're the survivor, just know your potential. You know, you should be able to escape at least 3 people easily against a killer like this, and don't matter how good he is, simply because of the just the mechanic of the game in general. Not nothing about skill really. Now, obviously, I did make some mistakes. Like for example, losing that Claudette is something that really changed the entire game, which is something people say a lot on public games, that you should not tunnel or camp. You should like trade hooks. This was a perfect example of what happens if you try to trade hooks and you do not camp or tunnel anyone. This match is a perfect example of what you can expect to happen if you're actually playing competent survivors and you try that strategy. This is what happens. So that's why I feel like it makes no sense for people that only play pubs to say like, oh, if you're tunnel or camp, you're not a good killer. Like, it makes no sense. If you're winning without doing that with a low tier killer, it just goes to show that you're not playing actual good survivors, and they're giving you opportunity in one way or another to make that happen. Because if they play to their full potential, that is physically impossible. So yeah, this I could have mistakes I did, like I mentioned, not tunnel losing the Claudette and not being able to tunnel her is something that completely changed the game. Because like I said, 4v1, you cannot keep a 4v1. It's impossible. You're gonna lose if you keep a 4v1. Even with a nurse, a 4v1 wouldn't be sustainable. You need to kill someone right away. So it becomes at least a 3v1, because then it's a little bit, maybe just a little bit more manageable. It's still hard, but it's still a bit more manageable.